Time to hang out with my sister girl. Hey, sister girl on films. Hey, sister girl on films. Hey.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Sister Girl on Films. And I know, y'all, I am late to the party, but I finally showed up. And as you can tell by the title, I am talking about my reviews and recaps of Bel-Air. Now, let me be completely honest. I was not going to recap and review season 2 of Bel-Air, but shout out to one of my subscribers, Candace Talks. Hey girl. She reminded me that season 2 was back and asked if I was going to review it, and I told her I wasn't sure. I didn't think so, but I ended up checking out episode 1 and actually liked it. So I was like, well, I'm gonna give it a chance. Hopefully it doesn't do what I felt happened in season 1, where it started off really strong and then it lost me. I'm only doing episode 1, so I am behind. So if you've already watched and you're caught up to date, I think episode 4 comes out this week. Bear with me, y'all. I might try to catch up and do some multiple videos back to back to get caught up, but I can't promise that because I got other things happening on the channel as well, you know? So let's go ahead and get into this review and recap. So last season, we ended with the explosive and amazing scene between Will and Lou, Lou being his birth father, who was played by Marlon Wayans. And as a result of that awful exchange between those two, Will got mad at Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil for not telling him the truth about Lou, so he left the house. And we ended with a cliffhanger, you know, with Will overlooking the city of LA with Jazz and just kind of like, okay, what's next for Will? So we find out that Will is now living with Jazz. He just could not deal with looking at Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv because he feels betrayed because they didn't tell him the truth about his dad. We see the Banks family at home. I'm kind of disappointed that the whole storyline of Carlton being addicted to drugs did not blow up and be a bigger thing last season than it could have been. I'm still disappointed about that because his almost overdose, was hidden from the rest of the family, and it just, I hated it. But anyway, so he's good. Like he's, to my knowledge, as of episode 1, he's not taking drugs or anything. And so we see the Banks family. They're having breakfast, kind of like they always do. But of course, Will is missing. So there's a little bit of tension in the air. And so Ashley is about to turn 13, so she's having a big party. And so Uncle Phil kind of casually mentions how he doesn't know if Will's gonna come to Ashley's party because he hasn't talked to Will. And everybody else in the family is like, well, I've been talking to him, like he's okay. And so Uncle Phil feels away because Will is intentionally ignoring him. I mean, if y'all think about what Uncle Phil did last season, I can see why Will would feel away, because even though Uncle Phil wasn't wrong to not necessarily go into detail with Will about, you know, the whereabouts of his father, I still don't think that he had the right to completely try to block Will from running into Lou. I mean, we saw that it ended up being an awful decision for Will to engage with Lou, but Uncle Phil should have at least had the conversation with Will and explained to him why he was keeping him away. So Uncle Phil is all in his feelings and his panties are in a bunch because Will is not talking to him, but he also is not willing to come to the table and apologize to Will and admit he was wrong on some level. So then we find out Will is actually back to his old tricks. He's playing basketball for money, and he's doing that because he wants to feel like a man, that he's taking care of himself. He doesn't want to have to rely on Uncle Phil because, again, he's pissed off at Uncle Phil. So I'm happy that it's not anything that's like drugs or anything like too crazy, but he did get in trouble in Philly for playing basketball for money, and so it's kind of alarming that he hasn't really learned from his mistakes from his past, but in his mind, he's doing what he got to do to take care of himself and be a man. Boy, you ain't a man. You're a man child. Sit down somewhere and go to school. And so we know last season with Hillary, she was a member of like this influencer house, and then she wasn't willing to do like questionable, like racy kind of sexual videos, you know, for clout. So she got removed from the Hype House. And so she befriended Ivy, who is played by Karuchi Chan. And so we find out that some things happened with, I forget the guy's name, but the guy that was in charge of the Hype House, and he fell behind on some things and could no longer afford to pay for the Hype House. And so Ivy bought the Hype House from him, and now she placed Hillary in charge of the Hype House. And so now Hillary, not the Hype House, child, that was the real one with the TikTokers. I forget what this one is called. I was gonna call it the Influencer House, child. And so Hillary is now in charge of the Influencer House. And so she's kicked everybody out except for the women. And so she basically wants to have like a female influencer dominated house. I don't know how that'll play out, but then again, if we learned anything from last season, these storylines will go nowhere. So it probably is going to mean absolutely nothing, but that is at least what's happening with Hillary for right now. And side note, Coco Jones, girl, what you been eating? Because she was looking thick in this episode. I mean, she always been a little slim thick, but when she had on that little pink outfit and she did a little side profile, I said, girl. So then we go back over to Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv, and they are still at odds about the aftermath of Will meeting Lou. And so Aunt Viv feels like they were wrong. Like they should have told Will about Lou and then none of this ever happened. Uncle Phil still feels like, no, we did the right thing and Will was wrong to go behind our back and reach out to Lou. And so they're even at odds about if they should apologize to Will. Now, Aunt Viv has already apologized to Will. Like, that's why he's talking to her. But Uncle Phil, again, is still walking around with his drawers not touching him nowhere because he got a chip on his shoulder. But I'm like, sir, let it go. Like, Will, at the end of the day, was the person that was hurt in all of this. And it was partly due to you and your actions. So being mad at him because he's not coming to you first is crazy. Like, first of all, he's the child in this situation. You're the adult, first of all. But then secondly, you're just wrong. And so Uncle Phil was pissing me off in this episode. I'm like, I hope Uncle Phil gets it together the rest of the season, because right now, and then so we get an update on Aunt Viv. So we know last season Aunt Viv was deciding to focus back on her art and really go back to her passion so that she could begin to feel like herself again and not just feel like a wife and a mom. And so she has an interview for a magazine, and she talks about how she is creating this fellowship that's going to target up and coming artists of color to be able to give new people a chance to have their work, you know, displayed and give the opportunity that they would not ordinarily have. And so y'all know last season, she was, at least I thought there was going to be a budding romance between her and Reed Broderick, who was played by Michael Ealy. And so she's still kind of working with him, but he's more kind of behind the scenes, you know, kind of help funding her. And he's still there to support, but she's trying to do her own thing and really want people to remember her for the work she used to do, but also kind of rebrand herself as this you know, person that's standing up for those who don't really have a chance. So she's proud of her interview. She feels like it's a great step in her career, and she's just feeling good and feeling like, you know, she made the right decision to go back and focus on her art, which, you know, I feel like it was. I wasn't too impressed by the artwork. But pursue your passions, girl. Pursue them. All right, and so then we're back with Hillary, and we see that her and Jazz are still involved. They're still, you know, all into each other, trying to figure out what their relationship status is. But Hillary is not ready to come out and be public with their relationship. She's more comfortable with keeping him as her little sneaky link. And Jazz is going along with it, but you can tell he's really not okay with it, and he really wants to be open in public about them being in a relationship. But for whatever reason, you know, Hillary is just not open to that idea yet. She wants the family to find out, you know, when she's ready. And I feel like it has a lot to do also with her influencer status, you know, and her kind of being like a sex symbol and maybe wanting people to have the illusion that she's single. You know, a lot of influencers do that shit. And then people get mad when they pop up married or they, you know, got a baby. No, they've been in a relationship for 5 years. So that's what Hillary was trying to do with Jazz. He ain't here for it, but for now, he's gonna go with it because he is really into Hillary. And so now we're back at school with Will and Carlton, and we see that Carlton has fallen out, you know, with his crew, you know, the rich white kids. What were they playing? They were playing rugby, the rugby team. That's who it is. So he still is not in good with Connor, you know, because he beat Connor's ass last season, and I think he broke his arm or something. So they're still not cool. And so Will is like, well, what's going on with that? And Carlton's just like, Connor's basically kind of turned everybody against me, so I'm just kind of just chilling and I'm by myself. And Carlton was like, but me and you could be a dynamic duo. And Will is like, bruh, you didn't want nobody to know I was your cousin last year, but now all of a sudden you want to be all teamed up because you see I'm more popular. And Carlton was like, yeah, it is what it is. But also we're closer now. And we're cousins. So, and Will is like, child, I guess. Will ends up taking Carlton to a Black Student Union meeting. He is not welcome. Carlton, as we know from last season, has very much been hanging around like the white students or, the rich students, and has not had a good rapport with the Black student body at his school at all. When he's asked, why are you there? And he was just like, I want to give another chance. And one of the other students is like, you were here before and you were only here because you were campaigning for student body government, I think it was president, and you just wanted the Black vote. He was like, but you haven't done anything else. You haven't been participating in the Black Student Union. Now all of a sudden, because you're being outcasted by your preferred group, now you want to come and be with us. Fair argument. That's a fair argument. I mean, we see it a lot in real time with Black politicians. And so that's kind of where Carlton is at with these students at the Black Student Union. Like, you're not about to come and butter us up when you need something for us, but then once you get what you want, you peace out. No, we're not playing that game. When Carlton was asked, well, why haven't you been more active in the Black Student Union? And he made a fair point as well. He said, well, the Black Student Union, you guys could have such a powerful voice, but y'all are not active. Like, y'all might do something here or there, but y'all are not doing enough to be active out in the community. He's like, and so I don't see the work that you all are doing, so I don't see the point of me coming here when you're not doing anything. Fair enough. He ain't wrong. And not that the Black Student Union has to be like the political force. However, historically, that was the purpose of Black student unions on college campuses. It wasn't just to have Black-centered activities and kickbacks and shit. It was literally to help push students and their things that they want to get accomplished to administration. And that work was supposed to go through the Black Student Union. They were the voice of the Black students. Black Student Union. And so if they're not fulfilling that task, then why is the expectation for Carlton to come back and put his popularity behind this organization that ain't doing the work on their own? So I could see both sides. And the girl that he likes, the president, she was like, well, I definitely see your point of view, Carlton, and I think that we need your voice and your opinion, so you can absolutely stay in the meeting. So it looks like there might be a little bit of drama, between Carlton and the guy that kind of questioned his attendance there. But again, like with Hillary and the influencer house, it probably won't. This story probably won't be developed. And we'll just move on to something else. I hope not, because I think there's a good story that could happen here, but we shall see. So y'all remember last season, Uncle Phil was running for district attorney, and he ended up taking his name out of the race and conceding. And now, fast forward, he's decided to go back to practicing law. And so while he's back at the law office, his law partner is like, what you doing here? He's not necessarily happy to see Uncle Phil. And so Uncle Phil's like, I'm back, I'm ready to get back and running with things. And he's running off all the things he wants to do. And his partner is like, whoa, pump your brakes, pal, pump your brakes. Maybe let's ease into it first. Let us get used to you being back. And then we can talk about some of these initiatives you want to roll out. And so it sounds like his law partner was used to running the show, but that is Phil's law firm. And so now that Phil is back, he the top dog, and it don't sound like his law partner is looking forward to that. So again, hopefully this is a good storyline that's going to develop, because I didn't like the look on his law partner's face, and I feel like he's going to try to do some sneaky shit to either get Phil ousted, because sometimes that can happen if they got a board, and the board can vote Phil out or vote him to not be chairman or whatever. Or he might do some underhanded, corrupt politician type shit. We don't know. But as for now, Uncle Phil is back to practicing law. I'm sure that will impact the dynamic of the family because he was spending more time at home. Now he'll be at home less. He'll probably be more focused on work. What is that gonna mean for Aunt Viv and now her art? Like, it's about to be a lot. So I'm glad they reintroduced this part of the storyline because I think there's a lot of meat on this bone. But will we get to it? Only time will tell. Now we're back at school and we see Will is out front and he looking like he looking for somebody. And our boy Jeffrey is back. I was so excited to see Jeffrey. Jeffrey got done so dirty last season. So dirty. Like the way Uncle Phil did that man was so uncalled for. First of all, he put his hands on him. Jeffrey should have knocked his ass out. And then he fired Jeffrey. Now, mind you, Jeffrey did overstep his boundaries a little bit, but he did have a conversation with Uncle Phil about his opinion about Will finding out about Lou and knowing the truth about his father, but Uncle Phil wasn't trying to hear it. And so Jeffrey, I feel like, did what he had to do. But Jeffrey is still not in good with Uncle Phil, so he's still not working back with the Banks family. But he is still available if those who he has a good relationship need him, like Will. And so Will reached out to him, just needing some advice. And Jeffrey, just let him know, like, look, you don't want to be out in these streets. Like, regardless of what you're doing, you back playing basketball for money, which is sounding a whole lot like what happened in Philly and how you ended up here in the first place. And you don't want to end up in a similar situation because it might not go the way you think it's going to go this time around. And so Jeffrey is like, and so Will is like, well, I got to do what I got to do as a man. And Jeffrey like, sir, you're not a man. Like, you're still a child. You need to go where you're safe, go where you know that you will be taken care of, and not try to put yourself in a bad situation all over again. And I agree with Jeffrey. Like, Will, I get it, but he doing too much. Like, I get it, you're mad at Uncle Phil, but you want to be a man so much. Well, a man has a conversation with the person he has an issue with. And a man addresses the situation and comes to a resolution that makes sense. So right now you're acting like a child. You and Uncle Phil acting like kids. Okay, get it together. And then little Miss Ashley. So yeah, see, I haven't talked about her a whole lot. So Ashley, I don't know what they're gonna do with this character this season. We know last season they didn't do a whole lot with her, and it kind of seems like we're still going along the same road with Ashley. So I don't have a whole lot to say about her in this episode. But one thing I will say is that our girl Tatiana Ali, who was the original Ashley, guest starred in this episode. And I was so excited to see her. I was like, yes, because y'all remember last season, I said I would love to see the original cast come back in guest starring roles. Like, how awesome. And I'm so happy that they did that in this season. Now, again, I've only watched the first episode. I haven't watched any other episodes to this point, so I don't know if she comes back or not. So hopefully she's recurring in this season. But then again, she's only playing Ashley's teacher, but she could have an influential impact on Ashley because she was talking to Ashley about some pro-black books and things like that. So that could be a storyline that we could have, but you already know how Bel-Air likes to do. So I don't know. So Will gets a phone call that this guy named, I think his name was Don, is holding a basketball tournament or like a game down at the beach. And so this is Will's big opportunity to kind of be affiliated with the most powerful guy in this whole underground gambling basketball circuit. So it's rare that you get the opportunity to kind of showcase your skills to this guy. So Will wants to go down there and play, but this game is also happening on the same day as Ashley's birthday party. And so Will was hesitant about going, but Jazz kind of talked him into it because Ashley really wanted Will to be there. So Will is like, well, we got time. Let's go ahead and go to this basketball game. And let me just go ahead and wrap this little business up, and then we can go to the party. So Jazz is a little nervous because he's like, I don't know if we're going to have time to make it because the party is on a yacht. So y'all know yacht parties, eventually they're going to go set sail. So they go to this basketball game, and while they're there, Will gets to meet the guy that he has been, trying to get in touch with. And the guy is like, yeah, I don't know who you are. He's initially not really impressed with Will's very arrogant approach, because y'all know how Will likes to do. And so there's an opportunity for somebody to play against the biggest guy on the court. I think his name was Big Dre or something like that. And so Will, of course, was like, I'll do it, because Will is on the time constraint and he can't wait all day to be able to be picked up to play in a game. So he plays 1-on-1 with this guy, and of course he wins. And so, the guy is impressed with Will, and he's like, I'm impressed with you, but I'm not taking on any new players, so, good luck, and hopefully, I might be able to catch you in another time. So Will is kind of pissed off, but then he ain't got time to be pissed off, because him and Jazz got to get to this yacht party. And so while he's at the basketball court, though, we are finally introduced to Jackie. Now, again, Jackie in the original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was his homegirl from Philly, and he met her in college. So now they've kind of integrated her as being a California girl that, is probably only more hood adjacent, which is the exact opposite of Lisa. And, she kind of strikes Will's fancy, but she never gets his phone number or anything like that. So I can imagine that maybe she'll come up later on, because Jackie was an important part of the show. Unless she's just kind of like a nod or an Easter egg type of thing. But I don't care about Will's love life. So I could take or leave the whole Jackie storyline. But we did get to see Jackie, and she was a pretty girl. So we'll see how that plays out. So Will and Jazz make it at the very last second to this yacht party. Now, y'all let me know if I'm the only one that was thinking this. But I was like, Will has got to be musty as hell. On this damn boat. He just played a game of 1-on-1 basketball. He was fighting for his life, honey, loving basketball style. He was sweating and everything when we saw him on the court. And then him and Jazz had to run up the pier to make it to the yacht before undocked, or whatever it's called. I know that boy was mustard and all get out. He just out around there just hugging everybody. You stink, because I know you do, because you ain't had time to take no bath, and I know you ain't had no baby wipes, because men don't be carrying no funky ass. But anyway, so Jazz and Will make it to the yacht party, and Hillary invites Ivy. And so Ivy sees Jazz getting on the boat. She said, oh, ain't that Will's homeboy? Okay. And Hillary is like, yeah. And Ivy's like, is he single? And at first Hillary wanted to say no, but then she was like, I don't know. And so Ivy was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to find out for myself. And Hillary is not okay with that. Jazz and Ivy are flirting. They are dancing the night away. She is putting all the moves on Jazz. And Hillary just sitting there looking like she swallowed a frog. Girl, you can't be mad, because you told this man that you wanted to keep it on the down low. Cancel R. Kelly. But you wanted to keep it on the low. And he wanted to kind of be more open. And so you didn't want that. And Jazz was like, okay, well, I'm going to do my thing. And he did his thing, honey. Uncle Phil, while they're at this yacht party, finally pulls Will aside and he apologizes to Will. And so he tells Will that he can always come home. He is welcome, and that he loves him and that he misses him. And I was proud of Uncle Phil, because he was wrong. And you should apologize to Will. So Uncle Phil and Will are back on good terms. Now, I forgot to mention this, y'all. So Jeffrey ended up going to the Banks house, and he spoke with Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil, and he apologized to Uncle Phil about, telling Will about Lou, and he wanted to kind of make amends and extend the olive branch. Well, Uncle Phil, being an ass, did not accept his apology and was like, well, thank you for telling us about Will, because Jeffrey let them know that Will was playing basketball for money. And I thought that was so rude of Uncle Phil. Jeffrey on some humble shit came, apologized to you, let you know what was going on with Will, because he definitely didn't have to do none of that. And even Aunt Viv was like, Phil, what is wrong with you? She looked so annoyed with him. And Uncle Phil did look a little bit guilty after the fact, but it's you don't have to be stubborn throughout this whole thing, Phil. Man up. Apologize to Jeffrey, because you ain't had no business firing off on that man. And he didn't deserve to get fired. And he was loyal to you. He's still being loyal to you now. And Jeffrey even let it be known. He's like, if y'all ever need anything, y'all can just reach out to me. So Uncle Phil better get his shit together because he's pissing me off about Jeffrey. Because I love me some Jeffrey, okay? Get it together. While we're at the yacht party, Will goes and talks to Lisa. He basically lets her know that things have been moving so fast since he's been in Bel-Air, and it's been so much that's been happening, and that he just needs to kind of focus on himself right now. And so he ends up breaking up with her, which she is devastated. Which, fair enough, like, she did a lot for this boy. She even ignored the fact that he lied about his past in Philly, which I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But either way, I feel like she was doing a lot. I think she gave up her V card for him and everything, honey. But you know, Will breaks up with her and she's pretty upset about it. So I don't care about Will's love life. So we'll see how this plays out, but I don't really care. And then Aunt Viv later on, she ends up finding out that her interview in the art magazine was completely edited all to hell. And Reed Broderick took credit for all of her shit. Basically, in different terms, called Aunt Viv kind of like washed up, but tried to make her reemergence and tried to take credit for her fellowship and all this other stuff. And Aunt Viv is pissed off, rightfully so, because the fellowship was her vision the whole time, and she just needed Reed to be just like the money behind it. But him taking full credit for it and, you know, trying to make it seem like this is completely his thing and making it seem like she's just whatever was pretty effed up. So I'm sure she'll confront him about that because she was pretty pissed off. And Uncle Phil, you know, was asking is there anything that he could do, and she was like, no, I'm good. I don't need your help. I'm gonna take care of it. So hopefully it's a storyline that doesn't just fizzle and we actually get something from it, because I would like to see Aunt Viv kind of stand up for herself, but I feel like she might end up in a compromising position with Reed because he seemed like he was into her, and I'm here for that. And then so lastly, Doc, we find out, did a little research on Will, and he finds out that Will has a past, and he finds out that Will is the nephew of the very influential Philip Banks. And so Doc calls Will and is like, hey, let me know when your next game is. I want to pull up and see what you got. And so it kind of ends on like a little cliffhanger because Doc seems to have some ulterior motives, but we don't know quite what they are. And so I'm curious to see how he'll try to leverage his power in a way to get influence or to get something out of Uncle Phil. So that's definitely a storyline that I'm looking forward to. So overall, y'all, the first episode, I wasn't mad at it. I thought it was a very good episode. There are some interesting places that the writers of the show can go, and I hope that they really develop some of these secondary storylines, because I feel like there were a lot of missed opportunities last season, and I really hope they do something with Ashley, because I'm at the point now with either we're going to do something with her character or we're not, and she's just going to be there because that's the character from the original show. But either way, all this half-assed attention that we're putting on this character is driving me insane. So either do something with Ashley or just have her pop up every now and again. But either way, make a decision, because right now I feel like they're still lost about what to do with this character, and they low-key probably wish they just didn't have to do nothing with her. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How you felt about this episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What were your thoughts about seeing Tatiana Ali? Y'all just let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please don't spoil any information from the upcoming episodes, because again, I'm watching it with fresh eyes each week. So I don't want any spoilers, and I'm probably going to get caught up. Maybe next week I'll do episodes 2 and 3. And then that way I can do the next week maybe 4 and 5, and that way I can be caught up, because I don't like being behind y'all. But y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, y'all like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'm gonna see y'all next time for episode 2 of Bel-Air.